Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. It is still April 19th. It is the year 2010, and this is Day 9 Daily number 104. For any of you who are confused and on demand and watching, I had to reboot the stream because it just sort of pooped out on me. But now we are alive and well and good. I want to begin by just saying that I have been so stupidly busy. I haven't been able to, do anything. So, I always prided myself on the fact that I responded and read every single PM I ever got on Team Liquid. I read absolutely all of them, responded to 100% of them, except that I've had so much stuff going on in the last few weeks that I've just sort of, especially the last week or two, and it's going to be that way for the end of the year. I'm sorry, my grad school's going crazy, but at the very least I'm not dead, so that's good, but sorry again, I'm trying to respond to as many as I can because I'm a dedicated young nerd. But, either way, on that same note, I kind of had a silly day. I had to stay up till 4:30 working on this project because I had to go out of town at 7:30 in the morning. So I slept like none, and I was out all day. And then finally, hold on, I'm just going to tell the computer I do want to accept the graphics changes, yes. So finally, I get back, and I'm late for class because I actually have a class that's at 6 p.m., so I have to go to that one. And, oh my god, is there an outage on Battle.net? Am I just not going to be able to do this daily? Oh no, there we go. Woo, that was close. Holy crap. Alright, fantastic. And, again, Procaster's crapping out on me, which is really annoying. I'm going to have to try to find a way to adjust this. So, one sec, sincere apologies. We're actually going over to the main screen where... So, I'm going to have to adjust this without being able to actually see the viewer window. So, there we go. Okay, now I can see it. Thank you. Hooray! Alright, fantastic. Heading right into the game. But anyways, sorry the transitions are now screwed up. Procaster just... Everything's going well today. But I'm in this class, and we're doing our final end-of-the-year business pitches, where we sort of pitch this imaginary game. And, this one girl pitched this game that involved using the Wii Remote as a fishing mechanic. You had a fishing rod and you could reel things in, and you could you were trying to catch stars. You could also swing the fishing rod to hit people, and it was kind of this adventure game setup. And what she pointed out is that there really have not been many successful fishing games critically, but at Walmart they seem to sell decently well. So she's going for a critically acclaimed fishing game. And I asked the question, because we're supposed to be acting like it's a serious business pitch, so I wanted to ask the question, well, if I'm a mom and I go into this store, and I just want to get a game, maybe a fishing game, maybe I don't know what I want, and I see your game that doesn't use one of these obnoxious, stupid fishing peripherals, and then I look at one of these games that does have one of these horrible fishing peripherals, I'm going to go for the cool one. I'm going to go for the one that looks fancy, as in my, house mom trying to get her kid some sort of cool present, mind. So aren't you concerned that those fishing games, even though they're worse, will eat into your market? But of course, because I've gotten 2 hours of sleep and I've been driving most of the day and trying to work my ass off to get these projects done, I say, so, if I'm a mom and I'm in this store and I look at this and I see this cool fishing rod from the competition, aren't you worried that the competition will eat you out? And I stared directly into her eyes, and everyone's and then it took me 10 seconds to realize what I'd said in this silence. I was like, man, she's really trying to think of an answer. And then suddenly I realized what happened and just giggled like an ass for 5 minutes as she actually responded to my question when she figured out what I was trying to say. So fortunately, I'm just sort of back trying to do my little StarCraft thing, not trying to go overboard, and then immediately I went home and I just blew my nose and just threw it into the toilet, and the toilet immediately clogged. It clogged 1 second before I went live with this cast. So, this is my one break from the day before I have to go back to the real world and worry about all that junk. Yes, we get to do a little bit of awesome Zerg vs. Zerg action today. I'm really excited because I actually haven't gotten the chance to do much Zerg vs. Zerg in these casts. And in particular, Diehilde sent me, Diehilde's a very strong European player, Diehilde sent me a replay pack of him trying to work this new build in Zerg vs. Zerg. And he sent me 15 games. He sent me a ton of games. So I have a lot of data to work with. And as I'm going through these, I immediately was like, this is going to be great for a daily. That helps, help the burden on my shoulders. But also, it helps to think about, let's say you download a replay package. Let's say you become a huge Diehilde fan and you want to become the best Zerg vs. Zerg player on Euro. So you download all his replays, and you don't have any prompt. There's no written anything. You just know that you're seeing the same player almost certainly try to execute the same strategies over some period of time. And the idea of how do you look at that and try to pull a build, to try to extract a build from what you're seeing. So let's begin with what is a build and what is a strategy. A strategy in StarCraft is not really all that different from a story. There should be a beginning, a middle, and an end. And with that simple analogy, we can immediately see the issues with people who try to just do these big rush all-in strategies or have these little gimmicks like, ooh, I can tank drop him. Because a big rush all-in is a story that only has a beginning. And a tank drop to get on his cliff is like only the middle of the story. So you want to try to smooth it out, make sure you have all these things that link up nicely. So in particular, let's think about the way that ZvZ used to work. Like I'm talking second, third week of the beta, when the Roach was beastly and the organic carapace upgrade at the Hive let it heal rapidly while unburrowed, all this stuff. So what does this mean? It means that, so I can open Roaches, right? I can open Roaches. That's the beginning of my story. And so I want to get to my middle. And there's always a question of how do you transition between your beginning and middle and end, right? So the problem was I could open Roaches because they were strong, they were sturdy, they were low on the tech tree. Cool. Then when I got to layer tech, I could upgrade the speed for Roaches, and then I could use the creep generation mechanics to make these Roaches really mobile. So once I got Hive, I could upgrade the organic carapace upgrade for my Roaches to make the Roaches even stronger. Now, what people will do is they'll look at that and go, ZvZ's bullshit. You only make Roaches, and that's the only good thing. However, it's so important that you just take a moment to say, in the storyline of ZvZ, I go from Roaches and transition into better Roaches and transition into better Roaches. That sounds so stupid. That sounds like completely just semantic bullshit. However, it's really important that you clearly see that the Roach is serving a purpose in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. Because as we're watching these games, it's very easy to fall into the trap of going, oh, well, he's doing, the most normal thing in the world. There's nothing exceptional about that whatsoever. When really there is, to be entirely honest. So, what we're going to do is, I've cheated. I've watched these replays. I know a little bit about what's actually going to happen. But we're going to pretend like we've never seen these replays before, and you're just a budding young Zerg player, and you want to become cool like Diehilde, who, by the way, if you talk to him, oh, baby, is that guy cool. So here's Diehilde. He always opens up with a hoo-hoo, a happy face, and a good luck, have fun. God, those Europeans are just so friendly. So his opponent in this first game is the Little One, who many of you know by being a resounding baller in every single matchup and every single strategy he ever touches, has this brilliant stability behind it, plus creativity. And here we have Diehilde. So what we're going to do is we're just going to focus on Diehilde, and in the course of this daily, what we're actually going to do is watch 4 or 5 of the openings of Diehilde and try to make some connections. And then we'll watch another 4 or 5 tomorrow, so we have a very solid sense of the game plan that Diehilde is incorporating. And also just general techniques for how to steal builds from people and make them into your own. So here we see Diehilde. He's going for a 10 Overlord, but there's an extractor going down. Cool, so he does do the extractor trick. Now here's the first tip I'm going to give to anyone trying to steal a build. So I'm going to watch Diehilde, and if I ever want to watch the Little One, I'm going to pause it, and I'm going to go up, and I'm going to check out what's up. If you're watching replays recreationally, if you're just loading up a replay, you'll always, put it to ×3 or something, and then just constantly bounce back and forth. And if you're curious about something, you won't pause it, you'll just go look and then sort of watch wherever the action is, or wherever the cool stuff is. But if you're trying to steal a build from someone, just pause it. So I'm noting that the Little One's doing something pretty similar. It looks like he is. He did go for an extractor trick as well. And Diehilde's Overlord's a little bit behind, but alright, cool. So everything looks pretty normal up to this point. Nothing extraordinary, nothing horrendous. I did want to give a brief update while we're just sort of observing. Computer parts are coming. I'm going to have new computer parts so I can stream in HD. Hooray. Anyways, so, this is interesting. He's getting an extractor at 14. Let's see what the uses of that are. I'm always concerned whenever I see an early extractor, because, do we need gas this early? That's always the question I ask. It's so easy to just get gas at some time because you see everyone else doing it and it doesn't screw you up too badly, but the smart players will always figure out a way to delay this as long as possible or to only use as much as necessary. So okay, cool. Looks like we have a 14 pool as well. What's my opponent doing? Well, it looks like the little one went for a 15 pool. Very, very standard opening. So I would actually expect a 16 hatch. And I also use this handy little V feature where I can check out what's up. Okay, cool. So this is about what we'd see. Our spawning pools would be going down at basically the same time if my opponent's going for 15 hatch. So, I'm already starting to have some thoughts pieced together about this build. Is he getting gas early for Zergling speed? If you get gas a little bit before the spawning pool, and we'll actually get to see this in this game. Again, I'm cheating. I've already seen this game. We'll get the chance to see that if you build this extractor a little bit before you end up building this spawning pool, you end up with 100 gas right when the spawning pool pops, and therefore, you can get Zergling speed right off the bat. So I'm noticing that Diehilde is continuing to make drones. Doesn't look like he's saving up for those Zerglings by any means. He would have been getting an Overlord much earlier. And we do see, by the way, that just glancing at the minimap, the little one is going for this ultra-standard play, this 15 pool, followed by a 16 hatchery, and then he's getting his gas at a pretty normal time, but oh my goodness, Diehilde already at 100 gas, and ooh, look at this, also getting another extractor early on. Very unusual for ZvZ at this stage in the game. Oh, wait a minute, what is he doing? He got to 17 food by powering drones pretty hard. And then he makes an Overlord on 17, and he extractor tricks with this drone so he can sneak a queen out. Extractor tricking is very inexpensive in this game. It only costs 25 to build the extractor, and you get 17 or 18 back whenever you cancel it. So it's basically, free to do. So it looks like he is not getting any sort of Zergling speed upgrade, and a pretty late Roach Warren. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you have a lot of gas, Diehilde, and a second geyser? You're crazy. I actually recall when I first watched this, I was a little skeptical. And, of course, because I'm a huge nerd, I'm going to watch all 16 replays of Diehilde ZvZ because I've been losing in that matchup a lot, and he actually won almost all of these. So I definitely wanted to play it out, but it's okay to have your doubts about what's going on in the gameplay, to go, I'm not so sure about that, but make sure you have great reasons for it. My reasoning here is, there is a lot of gas here right now, and I just don't see a purpose for it. That's about it. I think the extractor trick with the queen is cute. I think that the delaying the Roach Warren just a pinch is also cute, but not the biggest fan of this early geyser. 2 Zerglings coming out, very standard. I'm going to pause and just check out what's going on in here. Oh, looks like Baneling Nest coming out by the little one. This makes me want to pause it and discuss that for a little bit, so I'll do that in a moment. But cool, I'm noticing that Diehilde gets a layer immediately after he gets his queen up. Oh, okay, cool, I'm starting to piece some things together. This is nifty. Also, note that right at the start of the game, I said that if you get this extractor a little bit before you begin this spawning pool, then you will be able to upgrade speed right when the spawning pool finishes. So this is a great opening that the little one does, where he just gets a Baneling Nest, because Banelings, I don't know if you guys have had experience with Banelings in ZvZ. I mean, it's still predominantly roaches, but for those of you who've been experimenting, Banelings rape Zerglings. It is unbelievable how much damage, or how good Banelings are against Zerglings. I mean, everyone knows they do 35 damage, but in practice, they're unbelievable. So the little one almost certainly saw this opening by Diehilde and said, you know what, there's such a big chance of him getting Zerglings that getting a Baneling Nest can't be bad. But meanwhile, let's just focus on Diehilde's play. I'm going to be pausing a little bit less coming up here because, I don't want to be here all night because, once again, I have yet more work to do, despite having gone to bed at 4:30 and woken up at 7:30 and then gone driving with another person in the car. Oh, man. I didn't tell them. They're like, how was your sleep last night, Sean? I was like, it was great, man. I slept for like 10 hours, and I've had coffee. And I'm like running on pure gasoline. Which, by the way, I will note, I dumped gasoline onto my shoes when I was at the gas station refilling. So my entire house smells like gasoline now. Oh, what a rough day. So Diehilde, oh, look at that responsible vomiting. Oh, cool, look, now we're seeing a whole bunch of roaches come down. Just these 2 initial Zerglings, a lot of drones are being made. If we go to the unit counting station, we see that Diehilde has these 19 drones. He even snuck 2 drones out after he got this queen up. And now he's just making a lot of roaches. And this is when you start to go, huh, okay. Well, he's getting these roaches now. Will he be going for burrowing? Will he be going for fast hydralisks? Will he be going for this just glial reconstitution upgrade? What is his follow-through? And we are seeing quite a lot of stuff come out by the little one. Getting not the biggest Zergling force. And when I say not the biggest, I mean that the little one is generally expecting his opponent to be coming in with a Giganto-Ling army. So he's just going some Zerglings with 4 Banelings to crush it. But looks like Diehilde is just getting a bunch of roaches defensively, and now he's getting his Spire. Now, a non-perceptive player would look at this and say, okay, well, he's just going roaches and he should go Spire, right? Like, they think that, oh, the previous Zerg game plan was all roaches. And this guy's going all roaches and then just thinks he can throw some Hydralisks in there. Excuse me, throw some Mutalisks in there and be done with it. But this is when I'm starting to see, oh, okay, so Diehilde's focus is to get Mutalisks fast and safe off one base, and the safest way to do that is to get some roaches early on. The roaches are purely a unit that he gets at the beginning so he can get to the middle part of his story, that Spire, with those Mutalisks up. And then what's he going to do after he gets that Spire? Okay, cool, I'm interested. I want to keep watching his play. So here comes Diehilde, or excuse me, the little one up into Diehilde's base. Uh-oh. Here comes some big hits on the Banelings. Again, Banelings aren't amazing against roaches, but they're still pretty damn good. And as we can see, he should be fine. I mean, he's not going to end up losing right here, as you can even tell by this replay progress bar. Very nice control there by Diehilde. And notice that he's doing a pretty good job of keeping his larva count as high as possible. His Spire's done right now. Still had to build more roaches than he ideally would have liked. But I'm noticing here that all that gas that he got early on is just dropping down to 0 right now. So I'm going, oh, okay, I see now. This seems to be the beginning and middle of Diehilde's build. He's going to start getting gas early, but he's going to focus on getting a lot of workers so he has a decent economy, and then he's just going to straight up tech to a layer, and along the way he's going to get roaches just to make sure he doesn't die. But he's focusing very hard on getting enough gas to have some sustainably large and fast Mutalisk army. Kind of reminds me of players who go for a 9 gas opening in Zerg vs. Zerg in the original StarCraft, because you end up with just so many more Mutalisks that way. Even though there's these long periods of time where you have like 300 gas and no minerals, it's okay because you know that neither of you are going to be able to expand quite so easily. So of course I'm starting to think of concerns like, wow, Little One really does have a pretty damn good economy. He's getting, oh my god, you're going to get spore crawlers up, and he has this evolution chamber, which means he can begin upgrading. But see, I love this transitioning by Diehilde. See, now he's going for an expansion. Because, I mean, look at the money distribution. He's a little bit low on gas because he's building so many Mutalisks, and he's starting to get more money, so he just throws down an expansion. So here it comes. He's throwing down the Expo. Fantastic. Okay, cool. I think I'm starting to get a good idea of that transition. And he's going to harass with some Mutalisks. That's good. Oh, he sees the spore colony, so he needs to back up. I think he should be a little bit bolder with this queen. I mean, yeah, they shoot up, but, you can micro the Mutalisk back. You can kill it off with 4 or 5 pretty easily. We do see a second extractor going down, and just pretty much still Mutalisks being produced, and Overlords as well. And suddenly, all these Overlords that traditionally are fine in the middle of the map in Zerg vs. Zerg. Not in the mains, the queens will kill them off, but around the rest of the map, it's just roaches running around. Well, suddenly you can't do that anymore. These Mutalisks really give you huge map control in Zerg vs. Zerg. So I really like them. Now what you're hearing me do is defend this play of Diehilde. I understand now what his play is, and I want to understand why it's good. Mutalisks, obviously great to do harassment, obviously great to pick off these Overlords. Obviously good to make our opponent waste money on spore crawlers in positions where he might not really be helped out by it. Yeah, look at that. Easy harassment. But some things that might be a little bit less obvious would be this expansion is now really easy to take. Now Diehilde has time to throw down 2 evolution chambers. Ooh, this is fancy. And I'll come back to these in a little bit. But I'm watching this game really slowly. The first time around, when I watched this replay, I didn't glean this transition from Diehilde because I was just watching it a little bit too fast, and I thought I have 15 of them, so sort of just did a little lackadaisical fly-through of the game. And it looks like the little one's also getting mutilus, but we're just going to ignore that for the time being. I didn't quite get this transitioning that was going on by Diehilde, but as you can see, I mean, nothing I've said this game has required any sort of extra knowledge. All of this analysis of Diehilde's play can be done if you just begin a little bit slowly and analyze things very, very calmly and kind of go, why is this Roach Warren coming out right now? And why is this Extractor coming out right now? And I especially think that's good if you have like a replay pack where a player plays like 20 games in a row of one matchup. To take extra special care to watch that first one or two games very, very closely and just try to, even talk out loud. I actually talk out loud to myself like all the time. I actually started doing it more ever since I've done this web streaming because, again, the magic of streaming over the internet is I have no idea if this connection's actually holding. I literally could just be talking by myself in my room. But still, the act of just slowly articulating things in a lot of these casts has helped me see some things I didn't see before. So I'm actually starting to do it a lot more in my own analysis. And that's something I did with these Diehilde games, but starting around game 2 or 3. No reason I couldn't have started that around game 1. So some intensity ensues. But of course, we're not interested in good close matches. We want to learn how to just crush people. Because, games are not about having fun, they're about winning, right? Just kidding. Play StarCraft for fun. And if you're not having fun, go play BGH. But, getting a little bit high again in the mineral counts. A lot of that has to do, 2 in the Geyser, which once again seems to be the curse of StarCraft 2. A little bit of messiness, a little bit of sloppy play going on here. These 2 evolution chambers aren't really getting the chance to get used. But Diehilde was also in the process of learning in the midst of this game. We're actually not going to watch the end of this game. Diehilde was able to do big counterattacks with roaches, which is very, very strong. But the point is not to watch the games and to get the results. It's to get the gist of what's going on. And the reason I chose to stop it right there is that I saw Diehilde got a little bit thrown off with his timing on the Mutalisks. He got his Mutalisks out and did a little bit of harassment and suddenly lost in a big Muta versus Muta battle. A little bit less than well-timed, And then suddenly Diehilde was under some pressure, so he attacked with all his roaches and did significant damage, even killing the expansion. So that's sort of a kooky game. And so there's not really the biggest need to continue on with that. But already, because I'm watching a lot of games of Diehilde, I want to make sure that I'm trying to learn along with him. Because players aren't dumb and robotic. At least, not all players. Players aren't robotic. So when you do get a replay pack, you do tend to see oftentimes significant changes from, game 1 to 4. Or especially from game 1 to, game 10 in the series. So without pausing too much more, let's just jump right back in here. In that first game, I learned that Diehilde likes to go for an early geyser. And then he likes to get his pool up, and then he's going to use roaches to stay alive as he techs very quickly to Mutalisks. That's the big key, is the roaches that are helping him stay alive as he transitions to Mutalisks. If he's put under a little bit too much pressure early on with enemy Mutalisks, he can counterattack with his own roaches. The roaches serve that double purpose of defending in the early stages of the game, but also of creating really strong attack opportunities. And also, the basic structure to Diehilde's build, the basic story of it is, I get roaches, which transitions me into Mutalisks, so I can transition back into roaches. Very, 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 very good. Super good. Incredibly, incredibly good. And notice how it's not just, he's getting roaches and throwing Mutalisks into it. That order is so key, and the fact that the roaches play a defensive role early on is noteworthy. So here, it looks like Diehilde, cool, he's getting his 14 gas again. So I'm going to speed up and see if he gets the 14 pool. I'll see if there's any deviation. And then I always like to pause. Okay, it looks like there's a 14 hatch going down here. Okay, I'll just note that. Let's see what ends up happening. We're going to keep focusing on Diehilde's build. We're going to try to learn along with Diehilde. That last game, I think that he could have scouted a little bit better right around the time he had the roaches. So that way he could have been a little bit more prepared for that early bustin' with the Zerglings. Seemed a little bit more vulnerable to that. And as a result, his mutas got delayed. So I'm going to try to smooth that out if I'm Diehilde. He is doing this extractor trick. He's getting his queen up. He's getting one set of zerglings up. Here's the roach warren in the second geyser, the vomit. And is there a layer coming? Yes, indeed. There's the layer coming, exactly as expected. And the roach warren's coming up. Again, I'm going to pause. I'm going to briefly check on what this other Zerg's doing. Oh my goodness, he's going mass Zergling speed. Is he getting a second queen? I don't see a second queen yet, but that's still a little bit scary, especially if I'm Diehilde in this spot, and I just like, wow, that's a lot of Zerglings early on. Especially if I can get there and see some creep and yet more Zerglings. Gonna cause a little bit of panic in my system. So we have some more vomiting going on. Now is the time that roaches start to come out. We're slowly stockpiling gas. Not bad, because there is a clearly defined point in the future where we go broke in gas, which would be right when we end up getting all those mutalisks out. Or excuse me, right when we get all those. Yeah, I said it right the first time. And wait a minute, Diehilde is pulling all his guys off gas. What's this about? Oh yeah, he's getting attacked by a bunch of Zerglings. So he's playing very defensively right now. And see, this is really smart by Diehilde. He's saying, okay, all that gas I was stockpiling for the Spire, I'm going to die soon. I need to back off. It's essential that I back off. So now he's doing a little bit of spitting action with the roaches. Just a nice defensive role for these roaches, once again. I think that maybe, well, no, I'll do that little bit of thought stuff at the end of the game. So, not putting any guys into gas. Now I'm going to put guys back into gas now that the threat of dying has been eliminated. And a good question is, well, what if there wasn't really a threat of dying? Wouldn't it be, or should I say, what's wrong with just doing what Diehilde did with these roaches, holding back for a little bit, but not taking guys out of gas? Why exactly is that significant? And the answer is that, sure, you might lose like maybe an extra 100 gas or something like that, because you weren't mining. Your Zerg opponent is making so many units, getting ahead in gas is actually meaningless if your opponent's going to be ending the game soon. Which I'll just spoil it for you. His opponent does just do that. So I'm going to try to watch a little bit here. It looks like he's trying to get set up. Units push each other around, though, so you have to be very careful about using hold position in order to get in good spots. And here come all these Zerglings. Diehilde trying to block off, but suddenly all his roaches pop at once. And the Spire's not even able to get up in time. And you know what? Even if the Spire wasn't delayed, he still wouldn't have had it up in time. So I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, mass Zerglings all-ins are a big threat for this build where I'm trying to get my Spire up. It's a little bit close, but you know, Diehilde ends up losing that game. So alrighty, I'm like, okay, cool. Alright, I'm starting to see that he is trying to go this roach into Spire. I do agree now that the roaches are very essential in the early parts of the game. He can't just skip that and do something else. We're going to go right into his third game against Scrubbo. He definitely can't be doing something else at this point in time. So I do like that he's doing that. But he needs to be a little bit more careful. He needs to be a little bit more careful in those early stages. Maybe get some better defensive building placement. Maybe start vomiting with that creep earlier so he can retreat more aggressively. Now, on a map like Desert Oasis, I don't like this build that Diehilde is doing. I actually think the roaches can be cut out altogether. Or at the very least, cut back on significantly. Perhaps getting the layer followed by the roach warren. Just some mondo delay. Because the attack positions are so far, I mean, Jesus, it takes me forever even to scroll down as an example. You can clearly see it just wraps all the way around here. Huge, giganto attack path. No need at all to go for super ultra early roaches. However, it's sometimes good practice to do a bad build on this kind of map. Or let me rephrase that. Sometimes it's a good idea to do the build you're trying to practice on a map that might not be good for it. Because the fact of the matter is, you will always improve faster if you're focusing on one thing and trying to drill that down deliberately. Far more so than if you're trying to just do a little dabbling here and a little dabbling there. So I like the fact that Diehilde actually focuses down and sticks to this build on this map. We still do learn some cool stuff here. So, you know, more drones being made. We're getting to 16. We're going to get to 17. And here comes the 18th drone as well. There's the Overlord, able to build the Queen. We have an extractor trick. Ballin'. And even a set of Zerglings getting ready to pop out to boot. And we should end up seeing the Roach Warren and the second Geyser coming down. When are they timed? It looks like about when the Queen pops off. Yep, see, there's the Roach Warren going down. Here comes the second Geyser, and there is the lair. Cool. So Diehilde is repeating himself a lot. And I'm going to start skipping through these a little bit faster, as you normally would, if you're watching a replay pack of a player and trying to mimic his build. So putting guys in the gas. Okay, cool. What's the opponent doing? Looks like the opponent is also just going for a bunch of mass-laying antic. Very popular in this matchup ever since the armor for the Roach was dropped. Not really seeing any Roaches right now. So, Diehilde doing the smart thing, just planting an Overlord here and saying, I'm going to get the Roach Warren just as an option, but I'm still pretty much going to make drones. In that first game against the little one, at this state in the game, Diehilde had 19 drones and had already begun making Roaches. He had 4 Roaches. And we see here that he made 4 drones instead. So, already just occasionally stopping here, just noting some numbers. You can write them down if you want, but if I'm trying to rapidly steal a build, I'm just going to kind of keep that on the top of my head, so that way I can continue getting as much info as possible. And look, only just now beginning to make Roaches. Very sensible. I still would have preferred getting this layer before the Roach Warren. But you know what? That would force me to get the Queen a little bit later, so, this timing ends up working out just fine. I could go mass Cole style and just straight up get the layer without a Queen, but, I am not such a baller. So we do have a bunch of Speed Zerglings coming in. Ooh, Diehilde, I think, may have cut it a little bit close this time, as he's just going to get completely surrounded here. So there pops one Roach, but that's okay, because with that Larva Vomit, you can get them in sets of 4 at just the right time. So there is the Spire coming up right now. Again, very defensive role that these Roaches play. Just trying to dart in there, keep the ramp blocked. Notice how even when he had 2, he was trying to block the ramp. A Queen Snipe, incredibly effective use of Zerglings. Still noticing early vulnerabilities in this play by Diehilde. But I'm really curious how he's going to transition to the later stages. Oh no, he got his Spire canceled. Oh, that's so horrible. Oh, you poor thing. Not getting the speed upgrade. Not getting any sort of speed for the Overlord or any sort of burrow upgrade or anything like that. Just trying to calmly defend, and look, we already see that Baneling Nest popping up again. I think this is a little bit more of a crisis move by Diehilde. He very clearly wanted to do his fancy schmancy Mutalisk play, but clearly saw all these Zerglings and was just like, oh god, Okay, first of all, I'm going to have a little trouble staying alive, but I managed to do it with these Roaches. And then when I want to do a big counter push, I'm going to throw some Banelings out. So, again, I don't think that was the ideal transition. I don't think that's exactly what Diehilde wanted to do. There's the Evo Chamber. It looks like he is sort of abandoning it for now. And, building the Evolution Chamber in the wrong spot. And canceling it and then building it in the same spot again. Just a little bit of free cash down the tubes. Now it looks like this Zerg is going for his Spire. But this is, I think... This also happened in the Little One game, but I didn't focus on it because, I wanted to focus on the build Diehilde was doing. But this is probably the most important thing that you should know in this matchup, is that if you try to transition to Mutalisks too quickly, and you don't have a sufficiently large army, your opponent can just attack you with Roaches and just, immediately win. In fact, there was this hilarious... I played several hilarious games where the player had his Spire done, and Mutalisks were out waylaying on all of my Roaches, and I just attacked and won anyways because it just didn't deal enough damage. So the thing to be very careful of, yeah, look at that, the Roaches did so much damage, and Diehilde is just pretty much doing whatever he wants. But, not the most noteworty game. I think it was just a clear blunder by his opponent. But still saying, okay, there's a little bit of theme of vulnerability, and I'm curious now, as a rep viewer, and again, I'm cheating, I've seen this replay, I'm curious, how does it follow through in a longer game? How does it flow through if I don't die early to Zerglings or something like that? What does it look like? Well, fortunately, I have the replays selected in the correct order, so we can get a taste of that. This is a game between Diehilde, again, because he was the one who was kind enough to provide this replay package, of him against Ogre Eli, who's quite an old-school player. If any of you are familiar with the good old Ogre friends, yes, the strong German players. At least a lot of them are German. So, looks like both players are just doing the normal thing. I'm going to go on Diehilde. I'm going to speed things up. As a nerd who is trying to suck a build out of an awesome player like Diehilde, I'm going to try to just speed things through a little bit. And it looks like Diehilde went for an extractor trick before Overlord. Oh, he's doing a little bit of kooky stuff, doing a double extractor trick so he can get more drones out. Just some fun little experimentation, but looks like he's going for a slightly different build, right? We do have looks like a pool on 15 going down, no gas yet. Ogre Eli actually favoring to get a little bit of an earlier extractor there. So here comes Diehilde, just getting his gas. But we're going to see him flow into the same basic, beginning, middle, and end story. Roaches to defend while you get Mutalisks, and then transitioning back into Roaches. But remember, I was saying, oh man, Diehilde seemed to be struggling to some early game deaths. Let's see how he's accounting for this. So there's a lot of cool tie-ins that happen in this. So here come the Roach Warren and the second Geyser. This is the same timing that he was using before, Roach Warren and Geyser together. He's pushing out with some Zerglings early. Oops, just 2 for some early scouts. See some Lings there. Whoops, kind of runs them forward and back through them. Some free shots. Queen's out now. No Roach Warren quite finished yet. But Lair should be going down any minute now. Build your Lair, Diehilde, don't make me look bad. Well, it's alright, I guess he's going to make me look bad, which occasionally happens. He was nice enough to let me use these replays. So he's now just saving up to make sure he can actually get enough for these Roaches. Doesn't want to die. Gonna skip that Lair, and god, that Zergling speed is just so popular. So popular these days. Unbelievably strong. So it looks like there's some Zerglings coming in here, but let's just focus on Diehilde's build. So he's just sort of turtling back here. We're going to see some less than ideal control. Again, I'm going to chill here. Getting the Baneling nest as well. Banelings are awesome. Diehilde having to do some micro. Not microing the best around these outer edges, which I think hurt him a lot more than it necessarily should have. But this is a cool part. This is a nice little show and tell for you guys. Speeding it up. Here come the Zerglings. They're target firing the Banelings. Oh, yes. But, where is that one Zergling? Yep, here it is. It's going to morph into a Baneling. Still in the layer yet. And, God, I mean, look at the food differentials. We have 32 food for Diehilde. We have 33 food for Ogre Eli going to the unit counting station. We can clearly see that Diehilde has been holding alive a little bit better with the drones. Staying a little bit ahead, but, man, Ogre Eli is putting on quite a lot of pressure with these Zerglings. Except one Baneling comes out and just ends that entire story. So here it comes. Notice, has kept guys in the gas because he is in fact safe. It's not an all-in with Zerglings, as you can clearly see given the spotting he's getting from this Overlord, and then this Overlord in the middle as well, and then of course this guy here just to close it off. So that's why he's kind of sneaking away without the... Yeah, look at that. Did you see all those Zerglings evaporate to that Baneling? I'm just going to rewind it a pinch here. And just sort of resume it. Yep, and here come a bunch of Zerglings. Here are all 6 Zerglings, trying to be all baller. Trying to sneak around. And, goodbye, Zerglings. Easiest thing in the world. One-shotted, no problem at all. Banelings, phenomenal against Zerglings. Make for some really interesting dynamics, because players are getting more Roaches. Or as players began getting more Roaches, players responded by getting outrageous amounts of Zerglings. So now the Roaching players are incorporating more Banelings. But looks like Diehilde has avoided that issue of dying early on. And cool, look at this. He has a defensive Baneling to make sure he doesn't die to any sort of other Ling harass. Alright, that's really cool. Looks like he's getting back onto his original game plan. Alright, sweet. A little bit of a change, though. He's charging here with these Banelings and these and all these Roaches. Going to try to do some damage here. Some nice little micro fights, but has to back off. But he's just going to go right up to Lair, and as we're going to see, he's going to get the Spire up. Now, very obviously, he's much more secure. And we're going to be watching just one more game after this. We're going to do 5 today, 5 tomorrow. Just whip through these opening stages of the game. Despite the fact that Diehilde did a wildly different opening this game, he opened up, instead of going gas 14, pool 14, he went gas 15 pretty late, he went pool 15, gas pretty late after that, around 15 or 16. But he's still sticking with this idea of getting Roaches early on, and then getting 2 extractors very early on, so then he can just get his Spire up and get a whole bunch of air units out. And it looks like Ogre Eli is doing a pretty normal thing, getting up Speed Overlord to scout his opponent relatively easily. We have a whole bunch of larvae popping off here. And oh yeah, and Ogre Eli's doing pretty much the logical response, I would say. Not the best response. We're going to see some issues with it in a little bit, but this is what I would do if I was like, oh, I just scouted him, and I see he's getting this spire here, and it's almost done. Let me respond by getting everything I can to stay alive. Most players will be getting this layer down early on, so they can get the Glial Reconstitution upgrade, which is that speed upgrade that's grayed out right there because Ogre Eli has gotten it. But watch the magic that Diehilde pulls. This game was just marvelous to watch. I loved this game. So here we go. We have a whole bunch of Mutalisks coming up, and what are we noticing? Oh, cool. That gas we had stockpiled, we're broke. So we end up getting a little bit of money, which means we can go ahead and expand relatively easily. So he's throwing down some more spine crawlers, because as we've seen in 2 of the 3 games we've reviewed, not including this one, the Zerg player who was going Mutalisks lost to a whole bunch of roaches at his front, so naturally just building some spine crawlers here. Probably not the best expenditure of money. I'm going to pretend these evolution chambers never happened, and I'll come back to them. But where'd those Mutalisks go? Oh, did he pull them back? I'll just stare at the minimap till I see him. There we go. He's able to harass in here. Oh my god, there's no anti-air yet. Cool, look, a free queen. And all these roaches are completely useless right now for Ogre Eli. Cannot do anything with them. If he tries to attack, he'll be up against just too much. What's nice about these spine crawlers, great, Diehilde can reposition. He should have gotten this expansion. I'll even zoom into it. He should have expanded right here a lot earlier. Because look, while all this stuff is going on, what on earth is Ogre Eli going to do? Just go into his camera. He can't even afford to go forward all the way here, because as we can see, there's a bunch of spine crawlers and roaches there. So again, pretend that these two never existed. And this expansion could have come down a lot earlier, but I still like the same basic idea. Let's just describe this, right? So we got a few roaches to stay alive, we get the Mutalisks, and then we expand, and then we just get 2 evolution chambers, which we can get away with, so we can get +1/+1 upgrades, and then we're going to go back to getting roaches. You actually get upgrades faster than a roaching player who went straight roach, straight upgrades, and you also have the advantage of forcing him to get some anti-air, such as these Hydralisks, which is going to be really tough on one base. And Ogre Eli doesn't even have enough money to afford to start getting some of these missile attacks, because he's just drowning everything he has into those Hydralisks. And then Diehilde's fine, right? Now he's just going to continually make some queens, he's going to transfer some drones, he can empower his economy a little bit here. But I think very clearly you can see that Ogre Eli is at an overwhelmingly disadvantageous position. And here he tries to push his luck a little bit, but there's no expansion for red. Way too much stuff for Diehilde. Just so much stuff. He's going crazy. I do feel like he's going a little roach heavy. I feel like he should be going a little drone heavy at this point, because he does have 6 frickin' spine crawlers, which are really good. And then doing more good stuff with the Mutalisks. Running back here, trying to cut off reinforcements. Trying to shut down this expansion. All good things can be done with Mutalisks. And I'm just going to time 6 this for a little while. Just to point out that Diehilde is just overwhelmingly in the lead right now. He has map control with these Mutalisks. He can go around and kill everything he wants to. And Diehilde is pretty much forced to get a bunch of Hydralisks, which, though can shoot up, aren't the most mobile unit in the game. So obviously big advantage to Diehilde, who just kind of plays passively until he eventually gets 2-2, which he gets very, very quickly. Ogre Eli hasn't even been able to start his upgrade because he only just recently got this expansion online. I mean, look at this. These start with 1,500 mineral fields, and they're at 15 or 14, like 80 when I first clicked on it. So doing some more good stuff, and I will just happily say that in the end, this mass roach army from Diehilde just demolishes Ogre Eli, and it's not even close. Because Ogre Eli 0-0 against roaches that are 2-2, I mean, very, very clear advantage for Diehilde. So we're just going to do one more game in our quest to sort of understand his Zerg vs. Zerg build and all the variants, but I can say pretty certainly that a big theme, big strand that connects his build together is getting few roaches for defense, or should I say, getting something for defense that involves roaches. Maybe we'll get some Banelings, maybe a few Zerglings in there, probably mainly roaches. Then going into Mutalisks, getting Mutalisks fast, having geysers up early, so we can get enough Mutalisks. And then going back to an expansion with a huge roach army, favoring big, big roach counts in the mid-game. So let us go on to this last game that we're going to watch today. It's Diehilde versus Brain Bug. It's on Scrap Station. Then we'll just check this out and be able to pop right on over. Again, the focus of this is to watch Diehilde's games and to extract a build from it and to try to grab some understanding. So, okay, cool. Diehilde doing the hoo-hoo, good luck, have fun. Is Diehilde going to do the same build? Let us see. He did the same build in the first 3 games, where he got this extractor on 9. He did something different on Steps of War, but Steps of War is a really close, aggressive map. And, you know, Diehilde did something insane, where he did like 4 extractor tricks at the start of the game. So it looks like, oh wow, look, getting a gas on 13, even earlier. Ooh, fancy. He's going to be making more drones. Looks like his opponent, is opening the tutorial. Oh, cool. Look, guys, it's the Terran Tech Tree. It looks like his opponent is doing something pretty similar as well, just in terms of the timing of it. So here comes the 14 spawning pool. So before it was 14 gas, 14 spawning pool. Now I'm noticing 13 gas, 14 spawning pool. So really favoring that gas. I suppose Diehilde in his games was going, man, I just have too much money, and I can't actually get away with expanding. So I'm just going to stockpile more gas earlier on so I can get the Mutalisks out a little bit better. Ooh, very early. Second geyser. Oh, no, sorry, that was the extractor trick. I got excited. It looks like Brain Bug, though, is going crazy. He's just going to be going Zergling, Baneling. But I'm still focused on Diehilde. It's kind of funny that we've had so many players just open with some slightly unorthodox stuff, but still same basic pattern, getting the Roach Warren and the extractor up at the same time. Right when this queen's vomiting, this layer really should have been going up a little bit earlier on. I think that's one of those things that Diehilde would work on, is trying to get that timing a lot more crisp. And look at the timing of this. God, I've used the word timing like 1,000 times in the last 2 sentences. Anyways, look at the very good timing right here that Diehilde has. Right when this Roach Warren finishes, a whole bunch of larvae pop off this hatch. That way he can actually go ahead and spend them. A little bit low on the money. I think this earlier second geyser and this earlier first geyser have eaten into the money flow a little bit. But Brain Bug looks like he's doing something similar. Trying to get gas up, trying to tech very quickly. But instead of using any sort of roaches to stay alive, he's just going to get some banelings and do some early harassment, which I think is a pretty cool idea. Notice how the roaches are not quite up yet. So, here come the banelings. Slowing it down. Oh, there went a bunch of workers. I mean, just going to unit counting station, just killing off 2 workers. Pretty brutal. Then running here with the Zerglings to do even more damage, because those banelings do quite a bit of, bringing stuff to red life and not quite finishing the job. Now, this would be an okay period, I think, to pull guys off gas. You just don't have enough minerals. I mean, notice that Diehilde is vomiting larva, just got a layer, and is broke, so he obviously can't even afford to make any units, let alone make a spire at the same time. But it looks like Brain Bug's doing the same basic thing. Look, it's almost identical, except instead of, whoa, getting messaged on AIM, closing it down. That was my little brother, by the way, who's very awesome. And of course, if any of you know my brother, you should tell him that he is awesome. Yeah, look, same basic idea. Oh, crashing my computer. Same basic idea. Instead of roaches transitioning into fast spire, using banelings with harassment transitioning into fast spire. Very cool. This even has the added bonus that you don't die to mass Zergling early on so easily, because you get the baneling nest up almost immediately. Nifty, nifty, fancy, thrifty. And of course, Diehilde's has the advantage of already having the Roach Warren and some roaches up, making his transition into the later stages a lot easier. This, I think, is a little bit safer early on, a little bit more versatile early on, but we don't have our Roach Warren done yet. So we have to build that and invest time in that after our Spire gets up. So we have Brain Bug just hanging out. We have some more Zerglings hanging out, perhaps getting into some counterattacking position. Diehilde, I think, did the smart thing and just delaying the Spire just by a little bit. But look at the timing. Look at how that lines up nicely. Going to be at 500, 500 right when that Spire finishes. Actually, almost at 600, 600. Yep, there's the Spire finish. Da-flam! Getting them all out. Mutalisk coming out from Brain Bug. But going to the unit counting station, we can see that Diehilde does have a superior drone count. Didn't quite favor so many aggressive units early on. So now the Queen trying to get in here, do a little bit of damage herself. Just nice target firing. Should be grabbing that drone and pulling him through. It loses it. And this, again, I love Diehilde's nice use of these roaches early on. I mean, obviously should have pulled back a lot earlier, but I like this poke that he was thinking about. Perhaps not if he saw his opponent going for Spire, but, you know, little pokes with probably around 6, 7, 8 roaches seems fantastic. And look, Usual stockpile of money. This expansion needs to start going down a lot earlier. Anytime I'm going Mutalisk, I'm going to be throwing an expansion down shortly thereafter. And of course, picking off an Overlord like a boss. And we're just going to speed things up a little bit so that we have time for a happy little Q&A, and I have time to go to bed. So I don't die. And here's the hatchery going down. Cool. Our money's really low again. If I were Diehilde, I would start making many, many, many roaches. But you'd have to get an evolution chamber because your opponent and you are both going mass Mutalisk, and the first person to let up is going to end up collapsing. So, very important to throw down some Evo chambers here if you're the player who's getting this expansion up a little bit sooner, because there's no real good way to spend your money that quickly. You technically could get Zerglings, but it's a lot easier to use those Mutalisks as a transitionary unit and get a ton of roaches. And, no roaches yet for Diehilde, but yes, it's still the same theme of taking this expansion when we end up getting our Mutalisks. We have these roaches for early defense. Here come the evolution chambers for air, but that also helps us flow into that double Evo chamber, so that way we can get the ranged attack and ranged carapace. Very cool build by Diehilde. Looks like he just doesn't want to get caught behind in the Mutalisk count, so he's just mining a lot of gas. And as we see, he doesn't get caught behind in the Mutalisk count. He actually ends up winning this game shortly thereafter. We are going to analyze yet more games of Diehilde's, because I think it's useful to start realizing how many deviations there are whenever you think up some structure in your head. I mean, the obvious basic question that Diehilde was saying, or Diehilde was asking himself, was, how do I stay alive and get enough Mutalisks to be able to do some hurt on the opponent? So I'm going to go ahead and already mute the chat, because there were like 1,000 questions already preloaded, ready to get entered. So let us take them while I drink. So, VVVVEC says, won't these Muta builds die to fast, aggressive roaches? Which was the standard not a long time ago. So I'm going to move my Gatorade out of the way. So, I think the thing to note is that a lot of what Diehilde is doing, like getting extra drones in there, getting his second geyser up so quickly, not getting spine crawlers and the like, these decisions are a result of what his opponents are doing. He sees that they're favoring Zerglings or Banelings, and just pretty much not mass roach at the start, so he can get away with just throwing in a few extra drones here and there. If his opponent was going for something like ultra crazy fast aggressive roach, what would happen is Diehilde would, again, use those roaches for a purely defensive role, still be teching towards a layer fast, but not ultra fast, just at a normal rate. So that way he can actually, still abuse this Mutalisk count that he wants, still abuse the early gas that he wants, but just never die at any point. And given his timing, I would be surprised if he ended up dying, because I mean he is getting his spawning pool at 14, and although it's after gas, that's pretty early. That would be about the time that a roach rushing player would be getting his pool, a little bit later than that. So what this means is that I just don't really see a big threat of the aggressive roach builds. It will have an influence on the build, but will not shut the build down outright. Oh yeah, someone asking about the update on the live stream issue. There's been errors with some of the video uploads, so I'm going to try to get those onto the live stream here, but if not, they're all on Blip TV. I'm slowly uploading all of my casts to Blip TV so you guys can watch them at any point in time, and you can download them and put on your iPod or your iPhone or whatever you want. So I also have new computer parts coming in, and once again, the only reason I got those computer parts is because the community donated. Thank you very much for being awesome. Seriously, oh god, you guys are awesome. So let us see here. Yeah, how about this? So Punic says, in ZvZ, instead of going for roaches in the early game to defend, why not try Baneling to hold off the early speedling attacks, because they demolish lings, and then tech to Mutalisks in the mid game, then back to the upgraded or even stronger roaches after that for more support. This is something I was talking a little bit about earlier on. So first, let's think about Diehilde's build in the context of what you just said. What Diehilde's doing is, using the roaches for early defense might be a little bit bumpier in the early game. You might end up losing an extra drone here or there, but you have the Roach Warren done. You already have roaches done. So you have a lot more options later on. What I feel like the Banelings do is they give you more options earlier on. But then after you get your Spire up, then you have to build a Roach Warren, and then you have to start making roaches. So you don't have the options that Diehilde did, which is, oh my god, I'm starting to lose. Well, I have these 10 roaches. I will counterattack with them to try to peel away some of these Mutalisks from my back door. And that ended up working out very strong. I am intrigued, though, by this idea of opening up Banelings. Because honestly, how about this? Banelings into Mutalisks into Infestor Zergling. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Just anything that goes into the Mutalisks, followed by something that takes advantage of the extra time you've bought yourself. What was I going to say? Oh, I'll take this question by Punishments. And I will definitely be sure to relate it back to this. It says, Day 9, I see you are entering the upcoming HDH Invitational. That is true. I'm playing my brother first round. Damn it. Not really in the mood to play him, but you know what? Not above snapping his face. So first off, good luck in the upcoming battles. Thank you. Luck is definitely what I'm going to be needing because we're both going random. My questions are, what is your strategy going in, if any? Do you have a specific training regimens, and how far do you think you will advance? So right now, I don't have the time to completely flesh out all of my matchups. I have a few matchups where I feel very confident start to finish. I have very clear goals throughout the entire game. However, in other matchups, I have, I'll use this word, it's a little bit of a gimmick. It's like there is this center focus of my strategy. So let's say, for instance, it is tank dropping. I'm not going to say it because what if he's watching the stream? Something like tank dropping might be the focus of my strategy. So I have an okay lead in, but then I have a really good tank drop and an okay follow out, and I'm aware I need to work on those. So the preparation I'm doing is to do no extra build messing around with stuff because I've actually practiced with my brother, and he's good. So what I want to do is take whatever it is I know that I've been doing with some degree of success and try to make it very solid and very refined. I mean, for instance, Idra, I honestly think does a lot of wrong things in terms of the decision making. However, he just has such good macro, timing, aggression, decision making in the battles that he makes up for all of it and ends up coming back from a lot of insanely bad situations. So, relating back to this Diehilde thing, I end up resorting my replays so I can just watch all my Protoss vs. Protoss games or all my Zerg vs. Terran games. And I say, okay, I know I've been trying to do the same build in these 5 games that ended up happening at random times because I play random on the ladder. What am I noticing in my patterns? Where are their weaknesses? Where are their flaws? And then I'll get a training buddy and try to work out those flaws and have them say some things to me. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to do is stick to what I know is decently good and hopefully work out on that. So, let's just take time for one more question. So, Naomi GGN says, hey Day 9, so I've actually seen this build by Diehilde attempted a few times on the US servers and ran some trials with a friend. I found that a 34th supply Speedling Baneling bus build completely counters any attempt at fast Mutalisks. 7-ish Banelings up the front to cause damage to the roaches, then Zerglings to clean up. How should you handle this bus strategy using Diehilde's build to attempt fast Mutalisks? So, what I was actually thinking is that if you see your opponent going for some sort of mass Zergling strategy as Diehilde, just throw down a Baneling nest in between there. Just get a Baneling nest, just get a few Zerglings, get a few extra Banelings. If you think about it, Banelings cost the same as roaches, so it's not like it eats into your gas any more than it ordinarily would. You just need to spend the extra 50 for the Baneling nest. Because Banelings are a damn good counter to Banelings. Because if you have like 8 roaches or something like that, and like 2-3 Banelings, you're just not going to need to worry that much about a huge Baneling bus, because you can run in there with your own stuff and try to kill it off. So I think that against all mass Zergling builds, Banelings are pretty much going to be solid. So I will take one more question because that's a pretty straightforward answer. A lot of reposts. Oh yeah, the Deadly ZZZ says, Dear Sean, thank you for calling me dear. Do you think Infestors have a place in a fight against Roach Muta? In the 4th game where Diehilde's opponent was forced into Hydras against Mutas to stay alive, you could have used Infestors effectively against both the Mutas and the Roaches. I think Infestors are an unbelievably strong transition. There was a game that Idra played not long ago against some Zerg whose name escapes me. Ruthless, that's right, there we go. It was in the Hello Goodbye finals.
Did I lie just there? I think that's right. No, it was the Hell Goodbye semifinals. There we go. So, Ruthless was actually behind in roach count. It was not looking so good, but got these 2 beautiful fungal growths off that almost lost Idra the game immediately. Like, incredibly good. But what I think the better answer is, instead of, do I think Infestors have a place in this build, is that this build allows for Infestors to get out. The big issue with Infestors is that they're just hard to get up. You need the time to be able to build an infestation pit and to get the infestors up, and then to be able to get a little bit of energy and move out. And each of those individually is a very short amount of time, but it adds up to quite a bit, to the point where your opponent could have easily taken a third base by then. However, if you're distracting them with Mutalisk, if you're all over the place, and you're really not under any pressure from attacking, now's the time to get Infestors to super bolster your army and to start spending your new gas income, instead of on more Mutalisks, but just on more Infestors. I do prefer getting the +1/+1 upgrades first, just because I think it's awesomer, and because it's better for later game stages. But, after that, totally getting some Infestors I think are awesome. So that's going to wrap up Day 9 Daily number 104. We're going to come back for part 2 of Diehilde's build tomorrow evening, watching 5 more games, thinking about all this fancy schmancy stuff. I'm going to be putting up all of the other casts. I'm going to be uploading Blip TV. And if live streams video import worked this time, number 103 will definitely be up as well. And what was I going to say? Probably something else. But you know what? My brain is just frazzled. So wish me luck in not dying, guys. Yes. Cheers. See you later.